The Mongols were a nomadic pastoralist people from Mongolia led by Genghis Khan. In the 13th century, the Mongol horde rode across Eurasia and conquered all the lands between Poland and Korea. They were one of the most dominant military forces in history. But what allowed these people to be so successful? In this video, I'm going to take a look at the diet and training that made the Mongols into such physical specimens, and the mindset and culture that made them such fearless warriors. First, I'll just quickly mention genetics. So, in the harsh environment of the Mongolian steppe and Central Asia, only the strongest would be able to survive in this environment. So this selected for physical traits that were advantageous for survival, like strength, agility, endurance. And so the weaker people in these tribes would have been bred out of the gene pool because they weren't tough enough to survive. So you have the leftovers, who are like basically all really strong, hardy people, able to survive in this harsh environment. The Mongols were nomadic pastoralists. This means they moved around with no permanent settlements, and they relied heavily on their livestock for sustenance. Most of their diet consisted of meat and dairy, with limited amounts of vegetables, fruits and grains when they were available. I like this meme of the Chad Mongol who eats meat and dairy while the people he conquers eats grains which make them micronutrient deficient and weak. So most of the Mongols' diet consisted of meat. They would eat horses, cows, sheep, goats, camels. Often they would eat that meat raw because it was more convenient during long journeys. These meats could be dried or preserved for the long journeys that they would take moving around. They'd also eat the organ meats like the liver, kidneys and heart, all of which are extremely high in micronutrients. And other parts of the animal like the bones, intestines or other organs would be used in soups or stews. So they didn't waste much of the animal. As well as meat, they would eat a lot of dairy. Their favourite was mare's milk, and they would ferment this milk to make kumis, which is an alcoholic beverage similar to kefir. Fermented foods are really great for your gut health and your gut microbiome. Along with this milk, they would have a lot of cheese and yogurt. They ate some grains, namely barley, wheat and millet, and they would use these to make porridge or flatbreads. Fruit and vegetables were not a major part of the Mongol diet because they weren't readily available. But they would eat some wild fruits and veg when they were in season, like berries, onions, or wild carrots. They would use animal fat to make tea and soups. And in times of scarcity, they would resort to eating wild game or rodents. This diet was very high in protein and fats from the meat and dairy, and this would allow them to build strong muscles and bones and have high testosterone from the fats, which are both very important for a warrior culture like this. They also did a lot of physical activity and a lot of physical training. So a lot of their life would be spent on horseback. Horses were an extremely important part of what allowed them to move quickly and strike their enemies with such speed. And being on horseback a lot of the time will give you really strong legs and great balance. They were also very proficient in archery, which develops strong upper body muscles, and mounted archery, where you're riding a horse and shooting arrows at your enemies. That's an extremely powerful tactic because they could approach their enemies with such speed on horseback and then shoot the arrows at a safe distance and then back away on horseback. Hand-to-hand combat was also important, namely wrestling, which is still practiced to this day. Mongolian wrestling is a popular sport in the country. They would also stay fit doing hunting, running, swimming and weightlifting. Training was generally done in the early morning or the late afternoon because they believed the fresh air and the cool temperatures aided their physical training. Another part of what made these people so strong was their psychology and mindset. So these people were extremely resilient because they lived a harsh nomadic lifestyle, requiring them to endure long periods without food or water, never settling in one place, always on the move, looking for grazing pastures for their animals. The nomadic pastoralist way of life often produces really strong warriors like the Scythians, the Bedouin, or the Maasai. Along with this harsh environment, which would have made them strong-minded and resilient, they had a strong warrior ethos. The boys were trained from a young age in archery, horseback riding, and other forms of combat, and they were expected to become fierce warriors. So it's no surprise that these boys developed into men who were strong and brave and resilient, because that was what was required of them and encouraged by the tribe around them. Genghis Khan's military genius was one of the main reasons that they were so successful in dominating Eurasia. But on an individual level, the things I've talked about in this video, their diet that's high in meat and dairy, their strong physical training, the harsh environment that has created like a resilient mindset and the warrior culture they grow up in. This is what made individual Mongols such fierce warriors. And we can take some lessons from these people as well. You need a high fat and protein diet. Animal products especially are very highly correlated with height and body size. So a child who eats a lot of animal products will tend to be bigger, stronger, taller than a child who grows up on like grains, like most other farming cultures in Europe and Asia. Obviously, a rigorous, active lifestyle with training, combat training, is going to make you fit and strong like these Mongols were. And the harsh environment they were in would force them to become tough and to adapt to the difficulties in their life. And we today need to put ourselves in like stressful situations out of our comfort zone that force us to adapt and to grow. If you never truly struggle in the gym and push yourself beyond what you thought your limits were, you're never going to reach the levels of muscle and strength that you are genetically capable of. And it's the same in every other area of your life. You need to push yourself right to the limit of your abilities, and then a little bit beyond. And this is how you become strong. If you've seen my video on Toji's physique and you're interested in the complete guide to achieving Toji Fushigero's physique, including a physique analysis and weightlifting or calisthenics training programs tailored to suit your needs and efficiently maximize muscle growth, check out the link at the top of the description. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if there are any other warrior cultures you'd like to see me cover, like their diet and training and mindset. I've got a couple planned and in the works, so stay tuned for those. Make sure you subscribe, check out the Toji program in the description, leave a comment. If you know a lot about the Mongols and their lifestyle, please leave a comment. Let us all know, and I will see you in the next video.